Shalom, this video is about the Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, and Zealots. What kind of Jews were there 2,000 years ago? Well, there were a lot of different groups, but for convenience sake and to make it simple, let's focus on the main four. Now, Pharisees have a rotten name for many in the world, Christians especially, because of the bad pejorative connotations and words associated with them in the New Testament. But actually, they are brilliant religious thinkers who have changed religion forever, including Christianity, because Jesus was a Pharisee. So who were they? Well, first of all, you have to explain the Sadducees. The Sadducees were the group responsible at that time, 2,000 years ago, when the Second Temple still stood, for the sacrifices. That was the aristocratic, most people believe, the priestly class. They were the ones who actually thought they were fulfilling God's will best by offering the korbanot, which is the Hebrew word for sacrifice and actually means to draw close to God. Now, at the same time, hundreds of years before the Second Temple was destroyed in the year 70, there were another group of Jews who were more interested in studying the Holy Scripture, the Torah, and praying. And that was the group of the Pharisees who became the rabbis. Now, some of the things that differentiated the Pharisees from the Sadducees were the Sadducees did not believe in the oral law. They believed only in the written law. They also did not believe in afterlife. They thought once we die, we die. Those were some of the basic principles, and again, they thought the most important thing was sacrificing animals to God. When the Second Temple was destroyed in the year 70 by the Romans, that was really the end of the Sadducean influence. They had no more sacrifices to offer. And although traditional Judaism continued to pray for the restoration of the temple, sacrifices were no longer the means, efficacious means or possible means. And a famous statement by a rabbi named Yochanan ben Zakkai at the time, at 70, said, "We have a means that's just as efficacious as sacrifice, and that is what happened, prayer and Torah study and deeds of loving kindness." Now, there was a third group at the time named the Essenes, who were basically celibate. They lived in the Dead Sea community. They thought some ways Jerusalem was too holy to live in. But they don't seem to be now, according to the scholarly consensus, especially of Professor Norman Gold at University of Chicago. The people that authored the Dead Sea Scrolls, it turns out now that Dead Sea Scrolls were probably a library collection because some of them contradict each other. But the group that was there were the Essenes. And some scholars believe that John the Baptist was an Essene, that the negative feeling in some of the New Testament about the body comes from the Essenic influence. And they obviously died out. They were celibate. But the idea of the denial of any kind of bodily pleasure comes from those group of people that took the laws of biblical purity very seriously. The final group that we need to mention were the Zealots, the people that continued to agitate for political and religious freedom, kind of born out of the Maccabean spirit. These were people that led the insurrection against Rome in 70. They led the insurrection against Rome in 132 to 135, which both ended disastrously. But that was the Zealot influence, the idea that you have to fight and protect yourself, which, of course, the spirit is always alive in cultures and exists today, and the idea of Israel of needing to be self-independent and powerful enough to stave off the attacks against it. So today, what do we have left? We have a little bit of influence of each, but of course, Judaism in the main became Rabbinic Judaism, following the Pharisees, which focused on the best way to serve God were through prayer, studying of Torah, and deeds of loving kindness. To learn Jewishly, to live Jewishly, and to love God and our fellow creatures. And I hope that's a good explanation, a basic explanation for you of the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Essenes, and the Zealots. Now, of course, today we don't have any of those groups by name. Jews today are divided, and these terms are only 200 years old, 5% of our history: Reform, Conservative, Orthodox, Reconstructionist, Secular Humanist. Those are kind of American terms, and there are terms similar to that throughout the rest of the world.